Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, your one-stop shop for exploring the connections between fitness, health, and overall well-being. Join us as we dive deep into all aspects of a balanced and vibrant life, from pushing your limits in the gym to finding peace of mind outside of it. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting your journey, you are in the right place to discover the knowledge and insight to perfect your fitness life.
All right, welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. And today we get to sit down with a special guest. For those who have seen a lot of indoor or at-home exercise equipment, we all know there's a lot on the market. Pelotons, treadmills, mirrors. But this one is a little bit different. This one has been in creation for a while. It's called the Tonal. And for people who are listening and might not be able to look it up or know what it is, it's a screen anchored into the wall. It's got two adjustable arms that come off with cables on it. And you can set the resistance up and down, and you can move the arms up and down. So this thing is basically a built-in wall-mounted cable machine. What comes with it? Exercise programs, coaching, everything else. But we get to sit down with Troy from Tonal today to see the background history of what came into this Tonal and why it was designed, how it was designed, what's coming out of it, and how you could implement Tonal in a gym at your home and use it to increase your overall fitness. We got you on now, and so I was looking at your stuff, what they sent over, and checking you out, and you're with Tonal, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So walk me through kind of this world of Tonal, because for people who don't know, did it come about during COVID?
It was actually started in 2015
Oh, wow.
by Ali, but it was 3 years in stealth, 3.5 years in stealth, launched at the very end of 2018
Okay.
in just California, went countrywide in 2019, just starting to scale. And then obviously, March 2020.
Because I feel like that's when I really heard about it. And for people who don't know what Tonal is, I'm sure they've seen it. It looks like a giant panel on the wall with arms coming out, and it's got cable attachment. So if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see it behind him. And when I got to be honest, when I first saw it, I don't know about this, right? Because in fairness, there were other technologies at the time that were the mirror and things that were coming about. But then once someone used it and they're like, this thing can hold, is it like 220 pounds of force?
200, yeah.
Hold on a second. That's impressive. And does that need to be bolted into the wall? So if you could kind of give us the backstory in 2015 of where this came about, because there's a lot of people right now, I myself, I love home gyms. I love making them. They're simple. They're easy. I love stuff that you can do at home and not feel like you have to wait for someone to open a door to get into a building.
100%. So founded in 2015, Ali, our founder and current CTO, essentially super successful, Silicon Valley entrepreneur. I think he graduated his PhD probably at some super young age, just an absolute genius. Had a couple of companies, a couple of exits, got to 2014-ish, was extremely successful in his professional career, but found himself overweight, pre-diabetic. I think he might have had type 2 diabetes, out of shape, working too hard, just, classic story. Took a year, was fortunate enough to be able to take a year out of the workforce between exits, hired a personal trainer, went to the gym, got himself fit, lost, ton of weight, 50, 60 pounds, improved his strength, improved his cardiovascular endurance, reversed type 2 diabetes and he's like, this is awesome. I feel much better. I'm healthier. I've added years to my life and life to my years. Everything's feeling good. He's probably 40 at this point, give or take. And he's like, but at some point I have to go back to work and I can't work out with a personal trainer for 2 hours a day, every day. That's not going to fly. How can I do it? So basically in his kitchen, he designed the first Tonal. And it's essentially an entire gym that fits on your wall with elements of personal training. Uses electromagnetic resistance or motors rather than iron, which means it can be a really, really small footprint. And then we get a bunch of data off the end. But that's essentially how he came up with it. And then, yeah, 3 years in development and then released it back end of 2018.
It's fascinating because most of us normal gym heads are going to think, okay, this thing goes on the wall. You must have a strong wall for a cable system to be put on the wall. But you mentioned it doesn't work off of plates or cables. How did he decide to or think of let me use the magnet system instead of using actual weights? That's what fascinates me. And you're able to change that resistance with something that doesn't well, for most people, they know 200 pounds on a weight stack machine, that machine is heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. So his background is a hardware and software engineer. And so
Okay.
technology, motors, firmware, working, that's his wheelhouse. And so for him, it's why wouldn't you do this? I can create resistance in any different ways, which, revolutionary step change at the time. But in his, I think it was the natural, well, of course I would do that. And okay, well, we're very much about, and it comes from him, the way that it looks and the way that it's designed is
Mhm.
to have presence in your house. Doesn't want this something stashed away that you roll out and put away in a cupboard. It's something that should have pride of place in your house and show it off. That's obviously good marketing for us, but it means that you're going to more likely use it, right? Everyone's put a pull up, if anyone's put a pull up bar, over their door to the bathroom and you do some pull ups before you go in, you see it, you do it. There is this kind of response. And with home fitness equipment, historically, it's been kind of hard, right? We roll out the dumbbells or we put them away and kind of shove it in, or it's in my garage, which is a great place to work out. But, I live in Park City, Utah, a little cold in winter, a little hot in summer, challenging. So we wanted it to have a place in your house. And for him is, the studs, standard wood studs in a normal house in the US work perfectly well. We can come in, we have an install team that installs it. It basically weighs, a big screen TV. Because you're pulling on it, we'll have installers that come and do that rather than self-installed, because people like DIY. While I trust my TV, I probably don't want to be yanking on it. And I'll be honest, my opinions of it are probably not too dissimilar to yours. When my previous career before I worked at Tonal was in elite sport. And so I had a board member for my previous job, which was the Olympic team for skiing and snowboarding, asked me if I wanted to try Tonal and get it for some of the athletes. And I was like, gym equipment for an Olympic athlete. I had images of what I thought the device was, but I sent a staff member, because he's a board member and you do what they're asked. So I sent a staff member to LA to the showroom at the time. This is late 2019 to try it. And at the time we were going to go and buy a Kaiser. That's what our plan was. And he came back and said it was great. He was really, really impressed. It was robust. He loved not just the feel and how smooth it was, but you could manipulate the resistance, change the resistance at the touch of a button, overload the eccentric versus the concentric, add things like chains to it. You could do all of these features. And I ended up getting one for the Olympic Training Center, but it shut down for COVID in March 2020, just when it was about to be delivered. And so I got it installed to Michaela Schifrin's house, who's one of the world's best ever skiers. And so I got to try it at her house, loved it. And then a year later, ended up working for the company. But yeah,
Wow.
not your typical home fitness equipment. 200 pounds of resistance actually feels more like 250 of classic iron. We did a research study. The way inertia works, it actually feels a little heavier in terms of resistance, because you have to drive all the way through the motion. You don't get as much inertia help. But yeah, you can squat, you can deadlift, you can bench, you can fly, you can bicep curl, 250 or so movements.
Now, and I have to say, I've never used one. I've never actually seen one in a gym or someone's house. But that you mentioned your past working for the US, I could see this being in strength and conditioning facilities instead of having a blueprint of a giant cable stack machine or these giant machines with all different things. If you have that against walls and you have multiple stations, right? Because at the Olympic Center, I'm sure it's a giant room and you could have like 3 or 4 of these athletes just go change it on the dime and then have all this stuff right at your fingertips. And I think that's I don't know where you guys are probably going, maybe more home fitness, but I could see, because a lot of these strength facilities, the one I work in, we're going into these high tech worlds of velocity training, cameras, this that makes it easy and saves us space.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not where the company started, but certainly we have number of installs. I'd say less classic big box gym kind of focus. Lots of boutique fitness studios,
Right.
personal training studios, one-on-one stuff, physical therapy centers. I just came across an Instagram of some guy that's bought 6 of them in his rehab center. He has 6 on a Tonal and does
Wow.
group training out. I think kind of they're super space saving, right? If you imagine in a gym, that's always in the Olympic Training Center is a 25,000 square foot training floor. It's for 200 people. It's
Mhm.
the dream, but we still run out of space, even in that environment where
Always.
you kind of there. And so you're like, okay, well, when I use it, I can kind of put the arms out and they can go wide, but when I'm not, it's compact and you can, do whatever you want around it. So yeah, really, really interesting space that we're kind of, I would say, leaning into a little more is multiple usage. And lots of people, it's hybrid world for many people. Some people,
Yeah.
I train exclusively at home. I'm fortunate. I have a, treadmill and some other weight equipment behind me or in my home gym. But some people, want to go and do the in-person thing, once or twice a week. But the other 2 times a week, I can't. I've got busy job, family, can't make it. I want to work out at home, or I go and see my trainer a couple of times, and then I could work out independently a couple of times. And so I think it's about meeting people where they need fitness.
Right. And most of the time we know as strength coaches that people need that guidance. It's hard without really having someone there or someone in front of you showing you, demonstrating, or really telling you this is the program to do, this is what we want you to do. And as you go into it, right, the more marketable something is, the more people can see, oh, I can use this. Right? Like you said, it's maybe it's just not the one tool, but if you have it in your gym, you can now pair it with stuff. You can do, circuits with these things. And I'm sure that's where a lot of people are using it because I think a lot of times I'm sure this yours is kind of the tonal is a little bit of a best of both worlds. People are looking for that one-stop shop where you can pretty much do anything. And then also, how versatile is it? So you have your Peloton, right? I got one back here and it's great, but it's just a bike, right? So with this tonal thing with the arms, it can do a whole workout circuit. Boom. And it's right there. So this is really for the person who's looking for minimal space, maybe a complete home gym or some sort of cable trainer. You can't ask for any more.
Yeah, yeah. You touched on a couple of points. I have my own thoughts, whether these are the company ones or not. I'm not totally sure, but I think a lot. I've been in and around the fitness industry
Mhm.
for 20, 25 years. And you think, well, why some things have scaled and why some haven't? And like strength training, while it's on a huge upswing, and thank God that everyone's realizing the benefits of that, over the last 20 years, it is not scaled in the way, where home bikes have or, Soul Cycle and studios have because teaching strength is kind of trickier, right? It's not
Mhm.
just getting on a bike and pedaling. It does take some skill. And so I think it took the evolution of technology to match, both the hardware to create the resistance, the streaming technology to have coaches in front of you, the real-time feedback and adjustments. Because every time you do a rep on tonal, it monitors at 50 times a second. So you can decrease the weight if you're struggling, a built-in spotter mode, so it's safe. And so I think it took evolution of technology to get to this point of where, okay, now we can scale this thing that we know is super beneficial and we can, have a higher level of confidence that people are doing it in the right ways and getting the benefits to maximize it. And we're doing it in a small footprint and really efficiently. I say I have a squat rack bar in my gym behind me, but I don't actually squat or deadlift that much because it's just loading up plates and unloading plates. When you're used to touching a button to go from 0 to 200 pounds, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Like it takes
Mhm.
time, right? I jump in, I can, do a quick warm up set, change from, let's say 50 pounds to 150 pounds with literally the touch of a button, not have to load and unload any plates. I've got built in spotter. So I don't get stuck under the bar. If I fail, it automatically peels the weight off. And so, yeah, and just a really, really cool piece of kit.
And that's where it's so something like that is so cool. And years ago, we would have never had that. And it makes I work out for an hour a day. I don't know what you do, maybe probably similar. It makes your hour more efficient. And I think that a lot of times people look for that. That's why also, they get trainers. So the trainers picks the weight, they change the weight, they do all this stuff because that part of it adds up in time.
Yeah. I average, we monitor everything. So I
Mhm.
average not far off 50% time under tension. So actual lifting for every session. Now, recovery is important. And like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to shorten my recovery, But as soon as that's up, I'm ready to go again. And it doesn't matter. I've not had to waste energy changing plates or putting down dumbbells or picking them up. Yeah, I get close to 50% time under tension just by, lifting for a minute, taking a minute recovery, lifting for a minute, that kind of scenario, as opposed to having to do lots of those other things.
Now, say for supersets, is it pretty easy to change from superset to superset?
Yeah, instantly. If the handle or the bar, let's say I was doing from barbell deadlift to barbell bench press,
Mhm.
for example, I'm not sure I would superset those two motions that often, but maybe I'm doing some German body comp, some upper lower combos, and I'm really pushing for it, whatever your vibe is. Both of those will be from the handles from the bar from the lower position. So I finish my deadlift. Maybe I'm deadlifting close to 200 pounds. That's my max deadlift. Literally press a Bluetooth button, weight would go off, slide the bench under, the weight would the movement would automatically go to bench press. It's now 150 for my bench press. Weight on, it's got 150. It would take
Oof.
maybe 10 seconds. I would need longer recovery than Tonal would
Yeah, yeah.
take to ship that, even going as fast as I can. So, and if you do want to move the arms, it's literally just you literally move the arms. It's a couple of clicks of the button, so you can kind of move from any combination. So supersets are really, really popular with our programming and with our membership base. We're all about time efficiency. Is a lot of how do I maximize the time I'm here, and so I think antagonistic supersets or non-related muscle group supersets are something our members really, really thrive upon.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because a lot of young coaches that I help mentor, the interns we see when they pick supersets, and they're good supersets, right? But you look at them, well, how long is this going to take to change everything and go from here to here to here to here? And then they'll look at me and they're like, oh, this is a lot longer than I think. I was like, yeah, it looks great on paper, but then when you get into it, it just might be a time consuming thing, especially if you give that to an athlete who only has a certain amount of time or a person,
Yeah.
they want to be like, well, now this is inefficient. So I'm sure you're programming, I'm sure you guys have strength coaches programming all this stuff and most likely testing it through, right? Like, hey, let's see how quick we can cycle through these workouts.
Yeah, we have an
That's
incredible
awesome.
performance team that I'm very fortunate to work with, and their coaches on camera, and so all of us are all programming workouts, all of us are testing on workouts. So we've got PhDs, people who have spent 10 years at Exos, run their own studios, obviously all qualified and certified across most of the major certifications. So really experienced coaches, and then we get to test all of those workouts. The other thing that we get to do is every one of the workouts that we publish on the machine, we get to see engagement. How did people rate it? What worked well? What did not? How does it, what became popular and why? And then we get to mine the back end of that data of, it seems that these types of programs are really, really popular. Why is that? And kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I released a test a year or so ago. It was all based off of Arnie's Golden Six workout, 6 big compound workouts. It's like
Love it.
from the 80s. But one was a straight set, exactly as Arnie did it, which was basically 6 exercises, 3 or 4 sets of 10 reps. Very simple, great hypertrophy program, and roll with it. If you were going to start somewhere, it'd be a great place to start. I did one of that, and it took 60 minutes. I did another version of it, same exercises, but I supersetted them. And so it only took 5 minutes, I think. And I think I did a third where I started playing around. I supersetted it, and then I started playing around, right? Rather than 4 sets of 10, let's do a 12, 10, 8, and then a back off set. Let's add some dynamic weight mode. So that's the change or the eccentrics to certain exercises. Let's just mix the volume. Let's have a tri-set in there as well as some supersets, and just played around with it. And it took about 30 minutes as well. And you can see a direct correlation between just engagement. They're all named the same, Platinum 6 or some variation of that. But the shorter and more interesting, the varied workouts, way more self-selecting popular for people choosing than straight sets that are taking 60 minutes. And so, my goal is to make a program that is highly effective. It needs to have the outcome, but to do it in the most efficient manner that people are going to engage.
So do you find a lot of the programs are those very superset or triset? Are those the most popular ones?
I'd say things that work, that accumulate a large amount of stimulus in a little period of time,
Mhm.
are definitely where we're trying things, whether that's for a hypertrophy stimulus and number of sets in close proximity to failure, or if it's more quote unquote weight loss while is highly diet based. If we're trying to burn a lot of calories, then lots of upper lower superset combinations and things like that. But people are looking for time efficiency, probably above almost anything else. They're looking to try and get a great workout in a short period of time. And the more that we can sort of give them that, and then elements of what I call strategic variety. It might be little bits of progress. It might be in things like dynamic weight modes or playing around with sets and rep schemes to give them some interest. So it's not just 4 sets of 10,
Right.
which is nothing wrong with that, but it's also not the most interesting thing to do. So how can I play around with it while being equally effective, but maybe highly more engaging?
Well, and when you mentioned the Arnold thing, I think what's probably cool with your team does, or I don't know if they've done in the past, is take these old school DeLorme workouts or these old school bodybuilding workouts. Maybe it's like a one set of 20 reps, but it's 12 exercises in a big box gym. You're like, this is never going to happen.
Yeah.
But with that thing, you could probably run that thing and it's a circuit training 20, 30 minutes, you're going to be like, holy smokes. I take one set of, let's say, lat pull downs to failure. Then I go to one set of squats to failure, and you just keep going through 12 exercises. Man, that must be probably for a lot of us strength coach nerds, bring back some good exercise or good programming. But that would work for a lot of people. And they wouldn't even know the history behind some of those workouts, but they would be like, wow, that was so efficient. I didn't know I could do all that in one set and then move
Yeah.
on to the next exercise.
Yeah, a ton. Yeah, I personally, that's where I take most of my inspiration programming is like, how can I bring these legendary workout and sets and rep schemes and bring them into the 21st century in a way that people can actually get them done. So, I lean on some stuff from Mike Mensa and HIT.
Love it.
We have something called burnout mode, which is essentially a quote unquote beyond failure mode. So you come to volitional or so momentary failure. As you stop, the weight reduces by 1 pound at a time until you start moving again. So you basically rep out, 10 reps at 50 pounds or whatever, 49, 48, 47, 46. Oh, 46, I can move again, get 2 more, 45, 44, 40. So you can get this kind of drop set-esque type motion to it. So there's a lot of that kind of, yeah. So I have a
cool.
Dorian Yates, Mike Mensa section to my training. There's some Arnie workouts. So there's some, fun ways that we can do that. Lots of Poliquin, some shot sets, 6, 12, 25. That's
There's some stuff I haven't done some of those workouts in forever, especially the machine based, more especially like the Arthur Jones, the Nautilus stuff. Like you get into that old literature and you're like, oh wow, I got to try this again. And it doesn't seem much, and you do it and you're like, why did I do this? But it's good. And that's where a lot of people, I think, don't realize they did it. It's one method. I think it worked very well back in the day. But you don't have to be in the gym an hour and a half hammering, one body part for that whole time. It's more about efficiency. And if we're talking in this realm, it's going to failure. So you can push that with changing weight on the fly. And you're looking at this max amount of adaptation in the shortest window possible.
Yeah, totally. I think, it goes in cycles. I think my long sense is there are many roads to Rome. And, what my Rome is of my body from a hypertrophy might not be, what other people's may be, but there's many ways that you can get an effective training stimulus, particularly for muscle hypertrophy. I think for strength too, in terms of that. I think we're in the moment of we're more tending to, there's more and more evidence as I understand of, volume is probably close proximity to failure. We need mechanical tension. So we need close proximity failure. Does it need to be 2 failure or 1 or 2 RAR or reps in reserve? I think there's probably an inverse relationship between the amount of volume you do and how close to failure that volume is. If you stay a little further away from failure, you could probably accumulate a few more sets. But if you're closer to failure, maybe you may need a few yes. But there's certainly, I think, more people that are doing some sort of moderate to high volume training these days. But I think even the most recent meta-analysis by Zach Robinson out of FAU showed that you're getting there is a dose response relationship between training volume, so number of sets a week per muscle group, and hypertrophy, but it's not linear. Like the first sets, the early sets are exponentially more stimulus than the later sets. So, the first set is the most stimulus. The second one is a little less than that. Third one, a little less than that. And so it's this kind of, I'm not sure the exact relationship, but it's diminishing returns. And so you can get a lot of stuff done in 20, 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of time, that's what really, we have all the science. You and I, we can dive into it, but people really want to feel they got something out of it, right? So people want to sometimes go in. That's why they go to some Peloton class. They want to feel, hey,
I want to go crushed.
Yeah. I just got run over by a train. I feel good. I got a good sweat on and I exerted myself. And I am okay with that. And whatever workout that drives, love it. And that's where I'm sure you guys are just figuring out these workouts that people feel the best at. And it could just be your traditional 3x10, but if you pair it just right, that's magic.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because in my former career, I was all about optimization. What's the best possible way to get this adaptation for the least amount of cost, right? You're working with Olympic athletes trying to get on the podium and kind of things. And I am working now more exclusively in general population and sort of reading more about that. The psychological aspect of what people need from the workout goes beyond just the physiological signal that they're getting. So, can I say, hey, is CrossFit the best possible workout for you? And is the injury risk kind of thing? But they've scaled resistance training because it crushes people. It hits them hard. They know they worked out. Arguably Orange Theory and Barry's are in the same kind of the most successful fitness brands of all time have kind of that people want to feel like they've worked out. Now, I think we as fitness professionals have a balance to play. It shouldn't be like every day.
Correct.
But hey, I run some really freaking hard workouts on Tonal. They're harder than I would say most people need, but it's what they want. And so I'm willing to give them that and kind of things. And then let's have some back off on a deload after a period. But yeah, there's definitely an element of psychological. I want to feel like I worked tomorrow. I'm in here to push. I think that's a great thing.
And then when you have the opportunities, like different programs, now are your programs, when a person signs up, do they go 3 times a week? They would with a personal trainer, and that program is in microcycles, or could it be like Peloton where that person picks different programs each day?
Yeah, it's up to the user. So the typical path is you sign up, then you sign up to programs are typically 4-week cycles, or 4-week mesocycles. And you can choose from 2 days a week to 5 days a week in there. And there's different types of programs for every single types of person. And then you can progress along those. So after that mesocycle, you can sign into another mesocycle. And all of them will have progress in there. And then we'll track you in your way you go through. So that's, I'd say, the majority of the way that people utilize it. And so it will be programs that align to my goal. I want to age well. I'm into functional strength and kind of things. So we kind of gravitate a little more balance and stability. We'll still have some big compound lifts in there, but we'll emphasize maybe more single leg movements and things like that, or something, more get lean / weight loss related. Okay, we're going to have a little more hit in there. It's going to be a little more, work capacity down. We'll focus on a bit more big compound movements, the less isolation, or you can pick, build muscle related stuff. And we'd have more of a hypertrophy. So you can pick a goal and then you can pick secondary and tertiary training effects. And then we have mesocycles that match all of those. Or there's 300 and something of those programs, but a couple come out every week. And there's about 5,000 individual workouts. So if you just want to come in and, hey, I want to do a strength workout for my shoulders today, there'll be a shoulder isolation day. And you can pick from the 25 of those. Or you want to even do non-strength, I want to do a recovery and mobility session. Okay, we can do that. Or a yoga session, we can do those. So there's either paths and you don't have to be on only one. So what quite often we'll do is, hey, you're on a 4-day-a-week strength program and we suggest adding in these 2 recovery workouts, if you have some extra time on days off.
Looking for personalized workout plans? Whether you prefer to train at home or hit the gym, try a 14-day free trial of the Think Fitness Life mobile app. Get customized workouts, nutrition guidance, and coaching from a qualified professional who will be in your corner every step of the way. Visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com to start your free trial today. That's www.thinkfitnesslife.com.
In the workouts, are they on the screen? Is it show someone doing techniques? Does it sets and reps, or is it just personally guided saying, hey, you're going to do bench press for 10 reps right now? Once it realizes 10 reps, the whoever's recorded is going to say, we're going on to the next exercise.
Yeah, exactly. So there's 2 types of formats, I guess. There's what we would call is a live or a linear. This is a coach coaching with you. They're doing the exercises that as you're doing them. They're not real time. We do have live, but for the most part, they're hey, right, we're doing a warm up. We're doing, world's greatest stretch. We're holding here for 30 seconds. They're guiding you through it. They're on screen doing the same thing. And then they will do the entire workout with you. You can press pause at any time, but number of sets will be there. Number of reps will be there. And then the weight is personalized to you. So we do a strength assessment at the start. So it will personalize the weight. It remembers the weight. It also has progressive overload. So when you're more than 2 or 3 reps from failure, we will bump the weight up and increase it every now and again. So it keeps you progressing. And so that where they live. And then we have what we call more classic programs, which is more movement demos, a little less coaching, a little quicker. For those that it tends to be more advanced people that want, hey, I don't need all this guidance. Just tell me I'm doing bench press next and I know how to do that. And you can have a screen pop up, but it's much less. It's more of a movement demo recording of that and kind of thing. So it tends to be more streamlined programs. And those are the 2 ways we can take content.
The fact that you can program something when it recognizes some person can do reps probably a little bit more and adds weight, that's kind of cynical, but I love it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those aspects. Like you're just taking that, you're basically giving them the trainer saying, hey, we can tell you can do more, because most people don't know when to bump up or bump down.
Totally.
Right. That's why we have our job, right? Forever. Yeah. And this is maybe back to your point, why there's a lot of these at-home fitness things that start off really well, but then it's like, fall off because of that progressive overload doesn't occur. And it's hard because, or it's on the person themselves, then they don't feel they're getting it, but you don't have to worry about that because it is programmed in saying, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think progressive overload algorithm is incredible. And what do we as trainers, when we're doing that, we'll look at someone lifting. Does the bar speed slow down? Mm-hmm. Do they look they're struggling? Are they wobbling or not? We have cues, right, that we've learned over time from a coach's eye and from lifting. We basically take those same signals. We look at bar speed. We look at wobble. We look at struggle. It's just a struggle score. And we create that because we're measuring at 50 times a second. And so we have that same algorithm that can kind of basically give you a reps in reserve and a way to do that. And so take that out. And I think it was a paper, James Steele came out with a paper a couple of years ago. He's at Southampton University. And he looked at people, a whole bunch of research, but they came down to how heavy do people lift when they go into the gym and how many reps do they do? And he came out that most people lift with a 50 to 55% of their 1RM for 10 reps. Now, that might be a reasonable place to start if you're something, but 55% of your 1RM, you could probably lift for 20 to 30 reps before you reach failure. So most people are going into the gym and casually things are lifting 10 to 20 reps from failure. If you're looking for a hypertrophy stimulus, that's not really going to be the most effective. No. If you're looking for a strength stimulus, it's not going to be the most effective. And so we are able to, just by doing that, by basically assessing people's strength and then calibrating it across the entire library and then keep them progressing. I think that's a lot. I think people go in, they're like, I kind of work kind of hard. I worked till I was tired. I felt a bit fatigued and I don't really know, I didn't know what my RPE was. I didn't know what my RAR was. And people doing that same weight for the next 5 years, if they stick around, or more likely they do it for 3 months and then they're bored and they're like, well, I didn't make any progress. Maybe this isn't for me. And so we have this kind of way of just keeping, because progress is a really, really important motivational factor. To know that I went from lifting 20 pounds, a month ago to 23 pounds this month to 25 pounds next month. That's a huge, tick to my motivational well.
So as the mesocycles go, I'm sure you guys just track all that data from them, right? So from when they start, they can kind of see, where they've gone, where they're going, the ups of increased resistance. What else do you guys measure?
Yeah. So it's every rep of every person at 50 hertz. So it's, I'd have to check. I think it's 7 billion reps and counting right now that track all at 50 hertz, nearly 1 billion sets, 35, 40 million training sessions. I don't know, kind of things. So that tons and tons of data, as an individual. So every individual, I can go onto the app, I could pull up any of the movements that I've done and it would tell me my estimate, what I did for that particular lift 3 years ago. how many sets, what the weight was, what the reps were, did I use any burnouts, what my estimated 1 RM was, what my peak power was for that particular exercise on that particular day, how much volume I lifted, just data beyond data, kind of thing. So, but typically what we're measuring is force and velocity is the sort of two primary measures. We're measuring how much resistance is the motor putting out, so tension, resistance, and then we're measuring how fast is it moving fast or is it moving slow to, very, very quickly. So those are on every single rep of every person. And then we can compute a lot more data off of that. We also have a phone app with uses your camera where we use a pose model, and we can show, you can see your a mirror of your camera on the tonal screen. And from that, then we can use a pose model. So we measure joint angles and joint velocities for basically every motion, every major joint in your body. So we can know whether you're going low enough, your hips sinking down or your shins coming forward. Are you stable in your shoulders or whatever it might be? So you can kind of measure a whole bunch of additional parameters. Don't have to switch that on, but you can.
Mm. Now, in the let's say you said you have live classes or live workouts, right?
Yep.
Is other platforms, is there some sort of leaderboard where people can measure their metrics against each other or see different, who's got the best velocity or who's lifted the most tonnage over time or output? Because that's one of those things that I've always found, and I know some people don't get, but for a lot of athletes,
Super motivating.
It drives them. And you see that going up, okay, that person's at this score with that weight. Let's see if I can go a little bit more.
Yeah. Man, welcome to one of our product meetings about this. So the long story short is we don't right now, not because we can't, but because we are, and so we ran some tests on it. We're slightly conflicted in, would it encourage people to lift more than they're currently capable of doing with good form? If you're like, oh, I can really push it, let me do another rep, and you speed up and kind of thing. So we have, you can cheers and high five and kind of do that sort of virtual kind of stuff. And we have workout volumes for the entire group, but we don't up individual work volumes and where you are on a leaderboard. Not that we have not discussed it at length. We just want, what's the right metrics to show people that has the right motivational piece, but also does not encourage people to, quote unquote, lift beyond their means or lift, with let's say, if we were doing, volume lifted for deadlifts, suddenly that, their suggested weight for 10 reps is 150 pounds, but they bump it to 160, 165. Maybe they start rounding their back, or maybe they speed up so they can get 12 reps when we say they only do 10 or whatever it might be. So we're just like, we have concerns that we don't know. So we've erred on the safe side of caution. I think once we figure out the right way to do it and what the right metric is, I think some work might be interesting, force times distance. Yeah. So we're still working on that.
That's cool. Because then it'll something work. People can't try to, it's hard for them to figure out.
To game it, yeah.
Yeah, to be like, oh, I'm just going to go heavier and go balls to the wall. So they got to figure out, well, how come this person at lighter weights doing more work? And I've always found things like that where it's adding competitiveness really fun. Some people love it, some people don't. I know it's hard because then you start driving, especially people with these type A personalities, to be like, how do I just go and beat people? Which, that I think that's, to being said, that's part of that CrossFit community where you're pushing each other to be at a high output, and it builds that community. You just want to do it safely.
Yeah. It's the biggest pro and biggest con of CrossFit in one. I think that is a lot of the motivation that people want from it and pushing kind of there. It's probably why their injury rates are higher than typical, other forms of resistance training, because they're probably taking things out. Yeah, it's just a careful balance.
Yeah. So for the tonal, do you guys have anything new and upcoming for it? So I know you got it's the 2 arms and the bench, right? Does that come with the package?
Yeah, the arms, you get smart handles that have Bluetooth accessories, so you can turn the weight on and weight off. You get a barbell with a Bluetooth button and a rope. Those are the sort of the standard accessories, and a bench. So it comes with a standard sort of smart accessory package that comes with the device. Yeah, there's tons of stuff. Not enough I'm allowed to talk about if it's not really. But the biggest updates have been recently on the software side. Is we released called this training effect goals, which is really, it's kind of what I was talking around before. Around, we basically have 7 different goals, from hypertrophy to max strength to power to quality quality of movement to functional strength and some others that I'm forgetting right now. But essentially, we've ranked, I say we, Jake and
Yeah.
John on my team, thank you a lot, and plus some data scientists, but ranked basically every single exercise and how much movement quality stimulus is this, giving rankings to a split stance or a single leg versus a bilateral movement and things like that. And so what that's allowed us to do is map our entire library to the training effect that this workout or program might give you. Because no, every program works on everything to some extent. It's just, is it more emphasis on muscle growth or more emphasis on max strength? Is it more emphasis on movement quality or is it more emphasis on, work done or whatever it might be? So we did that. And then we now give users essentially weekly targets and metrics across the metrics they tell us are important. So, hey, how many strength sets a week have you done for this, this week and kind of things? And so progress. And when we give them a slight target and they can kind of up. So we're kind of keeping that kind of carrot to kind of, okay, well, let's push up. Okay, it's time for a deload and push up again and kind of thing. So that was one of the bigger recent effects. There's a whole bunch more, but I have to keep my mouth shut until they release.
I know a lot of all you guys with these technologies all got this background info, and it's okay. What's coming next for these home gym equipments? What's on the horizon? And I think that's with technology the cool part about this ever growing. How do you make this model increase more to basically tell someone, hey, you have everything here, and we can give you more just by using software programming.
Yeah, it becomes ever expandable, right?
Mhm.
You add, obviously new programs and workouts every day and every week, but new features and functionality. So you're getting more out of the same hardware every time. And the way to think about it is your phone, right? Every update that comes, there's some new features. Some of them are big updates that really change them. Some are not that relevant for me. But there's this kind of constant kind of evolution and software development going on. And I'd say the things that we're focused on as a company and what really makes us tick is we have an incredibly sticky product, right? That people don't churn, they continue to work out on the kind of there. Like, how do we double down, triple down, or quadruple down on that, right? How do we make sure we are not the gym where you keep paying us and we're happy that you didn't turn up. We want our
Mhm.
members utilizing, and we have an extremely high engagement user rates. But that's something we're always constantly like, hey, how can we build in more? Is there a particular section of our user base that maybe isn't get as much value? How do we build out additional features for them? We look a lot at the data. What's predictive or indicative of people that are more consistent or more engaged than others? We know that I talked about that, there's the people that follow programs and people that do individual workouts. People that follow programs are more consistent over time. Makes sense. Maybe the
Yeah.
people that choosing them are a little more habit planners and related there. There's also the idea of a commitment device. I've made a commitment to something and therefore I'm going to do it. We know that time of day is important and having a sort of workout schedule is important. Time of day window where if I don't work out before 8:30 a.m., I'm not working out that day. And what can we do? Can we push you a notification? Hey, it's
Yeah.
8:25 and you've not worked out. Let's give you a little nudge. No, I need to put that email down because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to get to it. So there's all these ways that we can kind of continue to nudge and help and assist people to do the thing that they've told is important, right? They bought this device to get strong, fit, healthy, live their better lives. And our job is how do we maximally help you do that?
And that can all be done through your app on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that's the stuff you wanna hear from a behavioral change standpoint,
Mhm.
rather than, "Okay, I bought this thing, I could pick whatever out of 6,000 classes, but there's nothing holding me back or really accountable to how, I'm gonna show up. It's hanging on my wall. How am I gonna show up?" And it very much is like, I mean, he embodied the whole personal trainer. We set your schedules as a strength coach. We we hold you accountable to come in at when your session time is. We drive you notifications to remind you. All that in a phone, which we know people are on most of the day, which let alone probably shouldn't be, but they're gonna get a notification to say, hey, you got workout B tomorrow at 8 a.m. or whatever your normal time is. Make sure you're dialed in. It's going to be this. People are going to see that and be okay. Well, this app is maybe some people find it annoying, but most people okay. This app is keeping me in line. It's keeping me in check because then you said as my brain starts to think, you can say, hey, we have this workout for tomorrow. Dial in your hydration, nutrition, start setting them on that mind path. This is what's going to happen tomorrow. They get up, they do it, and they don't really have to think about what exercise am I picking? What do I need to do? You're automating, and that's what we as coaches really want to do is just how to make people automated so they wake up every day and think less, right? Oh, we're gonna go to the squat rack, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna get protein and then go the rest of our day. But we know people don't. That's why we have people who invented things that hang on a wall and you can see and be like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, no, it's, it is that by and large, my team exists to do that, to embody, well, how would a coach think about this and what would we build? And like, some things we're excellent at, other things we still need to develop further. But yeah, essentially that's the path and the journey that we're on, is to try and replicate the aspects that we can as best as possible to help members stay, true to what they've said is important. We know that, like, I think a lot from an intrinsic, extrinsic motivation kind of standpoint and self-determination theory. And we know we've tried to build in concepts as self-determination theories, like what drives intrinsic motivation? Why do I get up and I'm going to work out? I'm intrinsic. Why am I intrinsically motivated? And there's three sort of primary constructs, I think, I did that. It's like people want autonomy, right? They don't just want to be told what to do. They want to have some active participation. That doesn't mean that everyone gets to choose exactly what they're going to do, but it means I have some choice in that. And typically, the more beginner you are, the less true choice we give you. We give you all good options, but it's like kids and vegetables, right? Which one of these three are you going to pick for? And all are good choices. Once you're a master chef, you have a bit more of a wide range of choices, but appropriate autonomy, competency. People want to feel that they're good at something. That's going to help them train. So how do we coach them? How do we build them up? How do we show them that they just PR'd, hit a new progress, that they're lifting with good form? So competency. And then the other one is this relatedness or connectedness and being part of something bigger than myself. And so we have an online community. We have, lots of Facebook groups. We have kind of things, but ways that I can feel connected to that, or even the coaches that are on their virtual. But like, those constructs are things that we try to bake into the program, because those are the things that we as trainers try to build with personal relationships.
Most important stuff right there is that buy-in and trust and building that community with people. And then they don't go anywhere because they have what they need and they're good. They don't need to go searching for something else.
Yeah.
I think you guys are really on a good path of driving that kind of culture, and not just, hey, this is another tool. You can use it when you need it. There's some other products out there, but you're really embodying how to get people to understand that this culture is a lifestyle, and it's not just, oh, it's in my gym, it's a treadmill, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the data backs it up. People who have had Tonal more than 3 years and are still actively working out, work out on average 2.5 times a week or something after 3 years. Churn rates in the, half of Pelotons, tiny. You don't just keep paying me and it becomes a clothes hanger. Yeah, 3 years later, still working out on average mean 2.5-ish times a week. So really sticky kind of thing. So proves that some of the stuff that we're trying to do and is working. And that's really the goal of the company.
Gotcha. Now for that system, can someone outright buy it and just use it without a subscription and use it for the weight aspect of it, use it as a cable machine, or do they have to get the subscription with it?
Yeah. So first 12 months, you do have to have a subscription. So it's hardware plus subscription. After 12 months, you can choose not to keep the subscription, and then it will still work. You'll still get the Bluetooth buttons and on and off and the weight changing and things like that. But the dynamic weight mode, the change or the eccentric or any of the programming or those features, those are all subscription tied. But after the 12 months, you can use it as the world's best cable machine.
I mean, kind of that's, you just want a cable machine that doesn't take up space.
Yeah, if that's your jam and that's
right,
what you know you want, then you can definitely do that.
And it for some people, it might be another tool for that. Now, is there any? I'm gonna say 200 pounds is a lot. Is there any availability to go up in weight? Now, I'm talking more based just because of the size of it. Is that able to handle that from a mechanical standpoint? Just curious.
I think 200 pounds is the limit of the current machine from a mechanical standpoint point of view. Yeah, there's, could you override it, kind of, take it into the shop and cook it? The arms are rated and safety approved for
Gotcha.
200 pounds. So that's the cap of this unit.
Just always curious as coach, we like to push the limit of things. Something like that you could make it, Optimus Prime tonal that thing could just handle poundage. Just like,
Yeah.
you never know where the science gets limited, but it's cool to think you could have something like that and have so much force be.
You can go up.
It's cool.
I would say confidentially on a podcast, but in prototypes, yeah, we've gone much heavier in various different versions, and you can create it. It becomes a cost benefit analysis.
Right.
It's quite simply every pound that you start adding, everything has to be reinforced and it gets more expensive, and then it becomes harder to sell. And something like 90%, I don't know the exact number, but 90% of our users have never maxed out the 200 pounds. So it's kind of the cost benefit of going above that. But we might sneak it up at some point with a future device.
I'm sure you guys got a lab, so you guys get to have fun with that stuff. And okay, let's push it. But you're right. Most people aren't. 200 pounds on a cable stack. That's pretty much all you need. You really don't need much more than that.
25% heavier, so it's about 250 of free weight.
Yeah. So the ratio of the gearing is a little bit different than your average cable machine. It can get true tension.
Yeah. Essentially, because once a Newton's second law, once an object's moving and wants to keep moving, it's not true of a motor. Once a motor's moving, it doesn't want to keep moving unless you do it. So you don't get any inertia benefit. So, how we can Olympic lift and get under the bar is because inertia, the bar's still going up for a very brief period of time if you move fast enough. Motors, it as soon as you stop, it stops, or kind of thing. So yeah, it feels a little heavier.
Now, does that have, I'm not sure what the feeling of it, does that have sort of a flywheel feeling? If you pull, is that going to pull back at you, or is that?
No, we can do eccentric overload. So you could increase the eccentric component. That's an option. You don't have to have that. It's not always on, but you could go 100 pounds concentric, 150 pounds eccentric.
Oh, that's cool. You can change it as you go through that.
Yeah. Have you ever done weight releases or seen weight releases? Yeah. You go down.
I've never used them. I've used chains, but I've never used that exact weight releasers, but that's a cool concept.
Rep, and then it's done.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it works every single, you could do a set of 10 with eccentric overload. So yeah.
Can you imagine set of 10 of squats and eccentric overload?
DOMs for days.
Yeah, but that's something I would like. You know what? I want to try this because ideally that would take forever to set up if I don't have some sort of, machine to do it for me.
Yeah. It's not, I don't lift enough. I'm relatively strong, but I don't lift enough to go into a gym and load up weight releases. I think if you're not an Olympic lifter or a power lifter, that's not happening. But yeah, I use eccentric all the time. Get a little extra kind of stimulus, potentially strength related, maybe hypertrophy. I use chains a lot. The other thing is, chains in a gym only work on up-down gravity movements, right? You couldn't do chains on, let's say, a rotational chop. But chains' biggest benefit, as I understand, a power, right? It's about force and velocity. So I do it on for my golf game, tons of rotational chopping with chains, because it doesn't rely on gravity. So I can kind of extend.
Nice.
It gets heavier the further out that I go. And so as I'm going faster, it's getting heavier. So I'm maximizing power output throughout that range of motion.
Basically, was the guy who designed it probably didn't have an exercise science background, really?
No.
But when you put it in hands of coaches, we're like, how can we just add every piece of books that we read into this thing and train? Knowing that most people might not find it cool, but we're like, hey, we can do this, this, and this, and check this program out. And
yeah, my product team, but what do people actually want and use versus my performance team, that's possible.
Right.
So we managed to do the both.
That's good. That's the best of both worlds. I know, because as performance specialists, how do we just maximize this thing and make this thing spin and do everything we need to? And most people don't care. But that's where we meld these worlds, and some people do, and we can put them together. People get something out of it. And if you put it in programs, I'm sure the ones your trainers have, people they realize they're doing it, but they don't realize the science behind it. They feel benefits from it. They see progress out of it. That's a win for us, right? We can take that and chalk. We got them to do it. We're pushing them in the right direction, and it's golden.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's a match between what's possible and what do people use. And sometimes it's about like, getting user feedback and kind of listening to the customer. A lot of the time it's about that. Sometimes you're like, this could be a really awesome experience. We know the kind of things. People aren't asking for it yet, but if we deliver it, that's kind of the
Mm.
Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs' way of looking at it is, well, people don't know till you show them. Everyone thought the iPhone was going to be terrible until they actually got it. And so there's a couple of those that you see it in as like, hey, you might like this. This is going to be pretty cool.
I think with having this conversation and when talking to people, they don't know what that tonal is. They maybe not heard about it. So or they've heard about it and they're just not sure. So when they hopefully listen and they start seeing it, they go, "Oh, this is much more than what I thought it was. It's not just this mirror that's going to let me do something. It is automated to control someone's literally exercise protocols." Mhm.
100%.
I know we're wrapping up around an hour. Anything else you wanted to get in and mention?
No, I think we've cut a bunch. I
Perfect.
appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you taking your time today and talking about the tonal. I gotta find a studio or someplace that has it or someone. I gotta finally try it and test it out. It's just
Yeah.
one of those on my bucket list where I've always wanted to feel what that resistance feels compared to a different